Have you ever broken a promise so sacred that it shook the very foundations of heaven and earth? In ancient Greece, such betrayals didn't just damage relationships. They summoned something far more terrifying than any mortal consequence. They called forth Megaera, the relentless fury, whose name means grudging anger, and whose very existence was dedicated to one purpose, making oath-breakers pay. In the shadowy realm of Greek mythology, where gods walked among mortals and divine justice was swift and merciless, few beings inspired more terror than the Erinyes. Known to Romans as the Furies, these three sisters were ancient deities of vengeance, older even than Zeus himself. They emerged from the blood of Uranus when his son Cronus castrated him, born from violence and betrayal, destined to punish the same. Ancient Greece was a civilization built on sacred bonds. Oaths weren't mere words spoken into the wind. They were binding contracts witnessed by the gods themselves. When a Greek swore by the river Styx or invoked Zeus as their witness, they weren't just making a promise. They were staking their very soul on their word. Breaking such oaths was considered one of the gravest sins imaginable, a crime against the natural order itself. Megaera stood as the most feared enforcer of these sacred bonds. While her sister Alecto embodied unceasing anger and Tisiphone represented vengeful destruction, Megaera specialized in the particular torment reserved for those who betrayed trust. Her appearance alone could drive mortals mad with terror. Ancient poets described her with snakes for hair, eyes that wept blood, and wings that cast shadows darker than night itself. But Megaera wasn't merely a monster. She was divine justice personified. The cosmic force that ensured betrayal never went unpunished. Her methods were as creative as they were cruel. She didn't simply kill oathbreakers. She tormented them with guilt so overwhelming that death became a mercy they couldn't reach. Consider the tale of Orestes, perhaps the most famous victim of Megaera's wrath. When Orestes killed his mother Clytemnestra to avenge his father Agamemnon's murder, he broke one of the most sacred bonds in Greek society, the duty of a child to honor their parent. Though Orestes acted to fulfill another sacred duty, avenging his father, the violation of maternal bonds called forth Megaera's terrible attention. She pursued Orestes relentlessly across the ancient world. Wherever he fled, she followed, appearing in his dreams, tormenting his waking hours, driving him to the brink of madness. Her whispers filled his mind with visions of his crime, replaying his mother's death over and over until he could find no peace. Sleep became impossible. Food turned to ash in his mouth. Every shadow held her presence. Every sound echoed with her accusations. The torment wasn't random cruelty. Megaera's punishment always fit the crime. Those who broke oaths through cowardice found themselves paralyzed by overwhelming fear at crucial moments. Those who betrayed through greed discovered that everything they touched turned worthless. Those who violated sacred bonds through lust found themselves consumed by desires that could never be satisfied. One lesser-known myth tells of King Lycurgus of Thrace, who broke his oath to honor Dionysus and protect the god's followers. Megaera's punishment was particularly inventive. She didn't drive him mad immediately. Instead, she slowly twisted his perceptions until he could no longer distinguish between his enemies and his loved ones. In his confused rage, Lycurgus killed his own son, believing he was cutting down a vine. Only after the deed was done did Megaera lift the veil from his eyes, allowing him to see the full horror of what his betrayal had cost him. The power of Megaera extended beyond individual punishment. She could curse entire bloodlines, ensuring that the sins of oath-breaking parents would torment their children and grandchildren. The house of Atreus, which included Agamemnon and Orestes, suffered under such a generational curse. Each betrayal led to another, creating an endless cycle of vengeance that Megaera orchestrated with terrible precision. Yet Megaera wasn't entirely without mercy. Greek mythology recognized that justice must sometimes be tempered with wisdom. In the famous trilogy by Aeschylus, the Oresteia, we see Megaera and her sisters eventually yield to a higher form of justice. When Orestes finally stands trial before Athena and a jury of Athenian citizens, the Furies agree to accept the verdict of this new legal system. They transform from agents of pure vengeance into protectors of justice, showing that even divine wrath can evolve. This transformation reflects a crucial development in Greek thinking about justice. The early, primitive justice of blood vengeance gradually gave way to more sophisticated legal systems. Megaera's willingness to accept this change suggests that true justice isn't about endless punishment, but about maintaining the social order that allows civilization to flourish. The geographical scope of Megaera's influence was vast. From the oracle at Delphi, where oath-breakers sought purification, to the courts of Athens, where her presence was invoked to ensure honest testimony, her shadow fell across the entire Greek world. Temples dedicated to the Furies stood in many cities, dark sanctuaries where people could seek protection from their wrath or, in desperate cases, try to appease them. The psychological insight embedded in Megaera's mythology remains startlingly relevant today. The ancient Greeks understood that guilt isn't just an emotion. It's a force that can destroy from within, more effectively than any external punishment. Megaera's torments weren't supernatural additions to natural guilt. They were amplifications of the self-destruction that betrayal naturally creates. Modern psychology recognizes similar patterns. People who violate their deepest values often experience symptoms remarkably similar to Megaera's punishments: insomnia, paranoia, depression, and a sense of being pursued by their own actions. The myth captures a fundamental truth about human nature. We are our own harshest judges, and betrayal of sacred trusts creates wounds that never fully heal. The influence of Megaera and her sisters extends far beyond ancient Greece. Shakespeare drew on their archetype for the witches in Macbeth. Dante placed them as guardians of the city of Dis in his Inferno. Modern literature continues to explore themes of inescapable guilt and divine retribution that first found expression in these ancient myths. In our contemporary world, where trust seems increasingly fragile and betrayal commonplace, Megaera's story offers both warning and wisdom. It reminds us that some bonds are too sacred to break without consequence, that betrayal carries a weight that extends far beyond immediate circumstances. Whether we believe in literal divine retribution or not, the psychological and social consequences of breaking sacred trusts remain very real. Megaera teaches us that justice isn't just about punishment. It's about maintaining the bonds that hold society together. Her terrible wrath served a necessary function, ensuring that people honored their commitments, protected the vulnerable, and maintained the trust that makes civilized life possible. The myth also suggests that redemption is possible, but only through genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing and submission to proper justice. Orestes found peace not by escaping Megaera's wrath, but by accepting judgment and working to make amends for his crimes. In the end, Megaera represents more than divine vengeance. She embodies the principle that our actions have consequences, that betrayal of sacred trusts creates wounds in the fabric of reality itself, and that true justice requires not just punishment, but the restoration of broken bonds. Her story reminds us that in a world where gods may be silent, the voice of conscience continues to speak with divine authority, demanding that we honor our deepest commitments and face the consequences when we fail.